remember yesterday I said we're going to get right to reading when I come in. So right now everyone should be heading to HMH to our story, The Good Garden. The Good Garden. Everyone that turned in their theme assignment from Friday, it has been graded. Everyone that turned in your vocab homework on time, that has also been graded and put into Power School. So feel free to check those grades out if you are at all curious. Yeah, so those have been updated. So Power School is totally up to date with all of our reading grades right now that I have. I'm a little stuffy today. A little stuffy. Once you are on our story, The Good Garden, I need you to put your hands on top of your head. Hello, those of you at home. You should be heading to our story, The Good Garden. Hey, stop. What are we doing? We should be getting to our story. That's it. All right, my lovely friends. Remember yesterday we read the Prepare to Read page and we talked a lot about non-realistic fiction, which is Mrs. Knifel's favorite genre. You can put your hands down. Hopefully you're there. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Get there as soon as possible. So realistic fiction, remember, it tells us a story about characters and events that are like those in real life. Hasn't technically happened, but it could happen. The characters seem real. The setting seems real. The events seem real. It's told in sequential order for the most part, and there will be dialogue. And we made some predictions yesterday that it's going to be about a family that plants a garden so they're able to eat. All right. Please turn to our first page. The first little part is in italics. By the way, the people's names in our story are Hispanic. Mrs. Knifel will probably accidentally say them wrong. I apologize. I'm not perfect. Maria Luz Derte lives with her parents and baby brother Pepito in the hills of Honduras. They grow their own food on a small plot of land, but drought and insects are ruining the crops in their community. They might have to eat the seeds they should save for planting next spring. Then they would have to borrow seeds from a grain buyer, also known as the coyote. The coyote makes money from poor farmers by forcing them to pay back 3 times the amount of seeds they borrow. Some people lose their farms to the coyote. To avoid this, Maria's father has gone away in search of work. He's left Maria with an important responsibility, taking care of the family crops while he's gone. So this lovely story is, or that lovely paragraph is setting us up for the story. That's what? What is that called? We talked about it a lot in the past. Dylan? Yeah, it's like a forward, an intro, whatever you want to call it. It gives us the information we need. The prologue, yeah, any of those. If you said intro, prologue, forward, I would have been like, oh, yeah, sounds good. Any of those I would have accepted. And it's giving us the information we need for the rest of the story. So, lots of information in there. Our main character, her name is what? Olivia. Let's stick with Maria. Her name is Maria. She has 2 parents, a mom and a dad, and she has a baby brother named Pepito. Where do they live? Where do they live, Braden? Honduras. They live in Honduras. They grow their own food on a small plot of land. So, how do they get food? They grow it. They have a garden, and that's how they get food. But there's a problem with their garden this year. What is the problem that they are facing, Ethan? Insects and drought. Okay, so drought, they don't have enough water, and insects, they're eating the crops. So that means that they're not growing as much food as what they normally would be, which means they might have to eat some of the seeds they were planning on saving for next spring. And you're like, oh, okay, they're just gonna eat some seeds. Well, if they don't have they don't have seeds for next spring, then they have to borrow from someone called a coyote. Just like if you need a loan, you borrow from a bank. Well, a bank's charge you interest, and that's how the banks make money. But this lovely coyote guy isn't really lovely, and he's not a bank. He's a person. And if I was to borrow one water bottle from him, he would make me pay back 4 water bottles. Well, if I needed 1 water bottle and I had to pay back 4, it would take me a long time to pay him back. So then a lot of people end up losing their farms to this coyote guy, and he kind of just takes advantage of people who need help. So in order to not have to borrow from the coyote, they don't want to do that because they know how bad of a deal it is. Her father has left to search for work. He's rolled out. He's going to go find some work somewhere. So now Maria is in charge of the family crops, okay? So mom's going to be taking care of Pepito. Maria is going to be taking care of the garden. So that is our lovely foreword, our prologue, our intro, whatever you want to say. It clearly gave us a ton of information, right? Right. Now we're going to start our story. All right. The wind pulls at Maria Luz's hair as she walks to school. The dry season has set in, and there is dust in the air and wispy clouds high above. As she walks, she thinks of her father in the highlands. He has been gone for 3 months now. Could he be looking at the same clouds? The village school has just one room for all 80 students. It is crowded and dark. Maria Luz slides onto the bench beside her amigo, Alfredo Gonzalez. 80 people in one room is quite a lot. Even if it's kind of a bigger room. Does that room look extremely large, though? No. But obviously, 80 people in any room is going to be a little bit tough. But there's only one room for all 80 students. And obviously, are all the students the same age? No. So that means students of... So there's probably like what we would have, like kindergarten through 12th. Well, probably not 12th grade. But kindergarten through middle school, all in the same room. So it's probably might be a little bit hard to learn. This year, the students have a surprise. A new teacher. His name, he tells them, is Don Pedro Morales. He is not much taller than Maria Luz, but he has big ideas. The first week, Don Pedro teaches his students how to make windows. This school is good for bats and owls, but not for children. He examines, flapping his arms. Soon there is daylight streaming into the classroom, making it easier for Maria Luz and the others to read and write. What does he mean by that? It's good for bats and owls. What does he mean by the school is good for bats and owls? Miss Abigail?
Because bats and owls like go out in the nighttime instead of in the morning.
Right, bats and owls are nocturnal, and they like the dark. When they're not flying around at night, they want a nice, cool, dark spot. So he's saying the schoolhouse is for bats and owls because it is so dark. The paragraph before that, Maria said... No, in paragraph 3, she said the schoolhouse was crowded and dark. So Don Pedro was like, oh, let's learn how to make window. Because it was something the schoolhouse needed, and that would be a skill for them. So they learned how to make windows, and now guess what? There's daylight coming in, and vitamin C or vitamin D from the sun is good for you. I don't know about you, but when there's sunlight pouring in, it makes me feel good. And it's a lot easier to read and write when it's not dark. So he teaches them how to make windows, and it also solves another problem. They get extra light. After class, Don Pedro picks up a hoe and climbs up the low hill behind the school. Maria Luz is curious. Are you making a garden? She asks. Don Pedro nods. Well, it will not grow much, she tells him, of her garden and how the land has gone bad. So this lovely teacher is, going to go make a garden for the school. And Maria's like, oh, you can make a garden, but it's not going to go good. It's not going to go good because of the drought and because of the insects. The land is not good. So she's just letting the teacher know, hey, not going to go good. Right, not going to go good. So there's a little bit of figurative language. I want you in paragraph 2, and there's a little bit of personification in the first line. It says the wind pulls at Maria Luz's hair as she walks to school. That would be an example of personification because can wind legitimately pull?
No.
Wind cannot pull a door open. So that would be some personification. It's from some figurative language. Really, the wind is blowing and it's making her hair go one way, and she's saying, or the narrator is saying it's pulling, but really the wind is not grabbing hold of her hair and pulling. So that would be an example of figurative language. It's some personification there. And then there's also just some other phrases that help us imagine her walk to school. So the wind is pulling her hair. There's dust in the air, wispy clouds high above. So it's dry. So just imagine a walk to school. There's just dust. It's cloudy. Things aren't going to be nice and green and beautiful. They're just kind of sandy, dusty, brown. So it kind of just is like her walk to school is kind of like a serious tone, just a little bit. It's just a little serious. But at school, there's a lovely surprise. What is the surprise? What's the surprise? A new teacher. Raise your hand. And this lovely teacher has what? So what does this lovely teacher have? Blank, blank from the text. Dylan.
New idea.
Big ideas, but yes, new big ideas. And so far, we've heard about 2 of these ideas. What are these 2 ideas that we have heard about so far? One has already happened. The other he's working on. What are some of these big ideas, Mia? Yes, planting a garden at the school. That's a big idea. Then there's another thing he already did. Haley? Yeah, he taught him how to make windows. All right, so that's exciting. Those are some big ideas. And then I like this illustration here on the right because I think it shows you like how crowded it is. Like that's a good illustration to show you that it's crowded. And then you can also see, oh look, they made a window, and now there's lots and lots of bright lights coming in. Please turn the page. Don Pedro stops his hoeing. Then there is only one solution, senorita. We must feed the soil and make it good again. Don Pedro heaps up old leaves, corn husks, and bean pods. Maria Luz has watched her father do the same, then burn this waste. What does he mean? Before we even continue, what does he mean we're going to feed the soil? Another little bit of kind of personification there. It's not like you can throw a cheeseburger in the soil and it's going to start chewing it up. That'd be silly. What does he mean, Mia? Right. So it's not growing good, well, because it's missing water, but it's probably also missing nutrients and minerals and stuff. So he's saying we got to feed the soil, meaning we need to get it its water. We need to get it its nutrients, things like that. So he's putting all these things in a pile. Leaves, corn husks, bean pods, and Maria said, oh yeah, I've seen them do that, but he burns it. But Don Pedro does not burn it. He says he is making food for the soil instead. He covers the pile with a big piece of plastic. With the help of worms and grubs, he explains, the old plants will break it down into food and the soil called compost. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of compost. Lots of people that have animals like compost and stuff, and then it's just nice, rich, nutrient soil. And so that's what he's doing. He's using the things around to make some more fertile, mineral enriched soil. Right on. Don Pedro asked Maria Luz to stir the compost every day with a stick to make sure it stays damp. He will collect manure from the school's chicken coop to add to the pile. Our soil will have a feast, he says. See, laughs Alfredo, who was passing by. Maria Luz will make dirt soup. Once again, I just read a little bit of personification. What line did I say some personification at? Yeah?
Line 11.
No, just... Okay, Mark just put it in there. But no, it's a line before that. Our soil will have a feast. The soil is not legitimately eating. If we have a feast, we have food and we chew it and swallow it and we're legitimately having a feast. That is another form of figurative language, personification. So she is in charge of stirring the school's compost. So she's got herself a little job. But Maria Luz just smiles. She stirs the compost and imagines Papa eating his plantain, tamales, beans, and cream. Can a garden have a favorite meal too? Fun fact, plantains is something super popular like everywhere but America. You can get plantains at a store. Anyone ever had a plantain? Mrs. Kneifel does not love them. Um, it is common in like South America and other places. It's like a giant banana, but not like a banana. I don't know, but it looks like a banana kind of, but a big one. It's really interesting. But tamales are obviously, like can't explain them. Oh, that does not say tamales. That says tortillas. Don't mind me. Mrs. Kneifel's a mess. We know what a tortilla is. It goes around your taco, right? We know what a tortilla is. Then we obviously know what beans and what cream is. Don Pedro's next gardening project is a big one. Maria Luz watches as he shovels the soil into giant steps he calls terraces. They rise like a staircase up the hill behind the school. Many people in the town come to see the spectacle. Some of them point and shake their heads, but they listen when Don Pedro explains that the terrace make flat surfaces for planting and keep the soil from washing downhill when it rains. On the side of each, he plants vines and grass to hold the terrace in place. Don Pedro mixes rich compost to the soil, then pokes holes in the terrace and plants his seeds. The cupianos nod and whisper, but fall silent when the maestro plants marigolds in rows beside the seeds. Has he gone loco, they wonder? It may look crazy, laughs Don Pedro, but the marigolds will keep the insects away. So, what is this illustration on the left showing us? What's it selling us? Selling us. Haha. Showing us. Anyone? What's it showing us? Abby? Yeah, we can see Maria working hard. And then also in the distance, like you see lots of hills. It's not like a city, right? You see how rural it is. Like there's like the school in the background. You don't see 5,000 houses or anything like that. You can see how empty it is. And you can see Maria working hard. Now, Maria warns him and says, "Oh yeah, you're gonna plant a garden. It's not gonna work." How does Don Pedro react to that? Was he like, "Oh, it's not gonna work. Better not do it"? How did he respond to that? Someone I haven't talked to. How did he respond to Maria being like, "Oh, don't plant a garden. It's not gonna go good"? How did he respond, Logan? Or not Logan? Landon. Yeah, he said, "Oh, it's not going to work. All right, well, I need to feed the soil then." So he came up with a solution. He didn't say, "Oh, forget it." So, problem, soil, land, bed, gone bad. Solution, feed the soil. Okay, so he said, "I'll feed it." And what does he actually mean by feeding the soil? Because that's personification. It's not actually eating. What does he mean, Caden? By giving it the corn husk, water, bean pods, and making compost, which is going to give it more nutrients and more minerals. Right. All right. Now, then Don Pedro does all this, and he also makes his garden a little bit fancy. He makes like little steps, okay? And he just makes it like that so there's nice flat spaces, and so if it rains, soil doesn't get washed away. How do people in the community, people in the area, feel about Don Pedro's garden project? How do they feel about it, Mia? Right, they were kind of like whispering, and they don't think it's gonna work. They were laughing, they were shaking their heads. They've never seen this type of garden before, so obviously they're like, "Oh yeah, it's not gonna work," because it's something new to them. And sometimes when you see something new, you think it's strange or odd. It's a spectacle, something unusual, so they think it's not gonna work. But even though people are shaking his head at him, what is he doing what's he doing back? When they're laughing at him and shaking his head, what does he do back? He does something really important here. Abigail?
He just keeps going on and never stops.
Yeah, well, he does keep going on, but he does something else really important. Olivia? No, it doesn't have to do with that. And he's not ignoring them. He knows people are laughing. What does he do? Yeah, he's explaining to people why he's doing certain things. So people are laughing at his silly terraces, but he's telling them, I'm doing this to keep the rain from washing it away. You know, he planted marigolds, which are flowers, in case you didn't know, bright, like orange flowers. And they're thinking, why would you waste space on flowers? But so they're laughing at him. You're planting flowers. That's silly. And he said, I'm planting flowers to keep insects away. So he's educating other people so maybe they could have a really good garden too. Okay, so he keeps working, doesn't quit like Abigail said, but he's also explaining why he's doing certain things. And what is this? All this? What does this reveal about Mr. Don Pedro? What do we like? Clearly hard worker. What else? What's another characteristic we could say about him, Ethan? Doesn't give up. Hard worker. Mark said he's dedicated. He's motivated. Amia, helpful. He wants to help people, but remember, he's a teacher and he's a real teacher. He's trying to teach everyone in the community, not just his students, right? He wants the whole community to see how he's building this garden, so hopefully other people can do that too. So go, Don Pedro. Turn the page. Don Pedro for life. All right. Over the next few days, more and more families come by to watch and learn. See, keyword, learn. He's teaching everyone, not just his students. Some ask Don Pedro how to make terraces. Others ask Maria Luz how to make compost. Still others admire the marigolds, which Don Pedro calls the smile of the soil. Everyone is wondering the same thing. Could these new ideas help their garden too? Oh, snap. There's a picture of the terraces really good. You can see how it's like a little ledge up and then it's nice and flat. Then it's a little ledge up and it's nice and flat on the left-hand side. Maria Luz begins to try some of Don Pedro's new ways at home. She makes small terraces for her family's winter vegetables. Her steps look rough and uneven, but they will hold soil. Pepito toddles out to see. He grabs a handful of compost and pats it onto the terrace, just as he's seen his big sister do. Won't Papa be surprised to find two gardeners when he comes home? She remembers all her father taught her. She pokes holes in the soil and pushes the seeds down deep. She saves one small terrace for something new. Don Pedro has given her a packet of radish seeds. He says they will sprout in just a few weeks and sell for a good price at the market. So that's nice. So, obviously, big responsibility that Maria has to take care of the garden while her father's away, right? Like they need this food, so it's a big responsibility. But now she has a few new things to try, which probably makes her feel what? She was probably feeling a little bit defeated because, you know, she told Don Pedro the land is bad, it won't grow. But now she has all these new ideas. So how might she be feeling now that she's starting with the new terraces? She has compost, also has radishes to plant. So how might she be feeling now, Olivia?
Excited.
Right, she might be excited to try this new thing at home to see if it works at home. What else, Abigail?
Or like having more like bravery in her, like
maybe she's feeling just a little bit more brave to take on such a big responsibility. She's probably maybe a little bit relieved now that she knows having compost will help and stuff like that. So she's probably a little more willing to try. She's also probably really hopeful, right? Like, oh, these new ideas are going to help my family. And yeah. And then there's a beautiful illustration on the right-hand side. It says, what does this illustration help you understand about Maria Luz and her relationship with Vito? Because think about your relationship with your little siblings. I'm sure sometimes you just want to push them down. But here's Pepito and her. What does this show you about Pepita and Maria? What does it show you? Someone I haven't talked to. Ow. I'd like to let everyone know I got on super cute whale socks for Wacky Sock Day. All right, Connor, what does this illustration show you about Pepito and Maria? Okay, so that's not exactly what I would say because we're gardening, not farming. Farming's on a much bigger scale. And that's not exactly what I would say about the Pepito part. Mia, you want to add to that? Right, this image is showing how caring Maria is because was Pepito left in charge of gardening? No. She's being caring towards her little brother, showing him how to garden because he doesn't yet know how to do it. Clearly, he's like baby. So it just shows how caring she is for him and how she is willing to teach him stuff. Please turn the page. Dun, da, da, da. Now we got a scary guy. Maria Luz pictures the coins she will earn and dreams of what she might do with them. Should she take Pepito for his vaccinations or save to buy a burro? Pepito pulls at her to go. She gives him a little hand, a squeeze, and picks up the watering can. We have fed our soil, Pepito. Now we must give it a drink. So, how is she going to earn coins? This is from the previous page. Did you pay attention? How was she going to earn coins? Still in?
By selling radish.
Right, by selling the radishes, and she got the seeds for free because Don Pedro gave her the seeds, which means free seeds. Any that she plants, she'll be able to make. And now a little bit of personification there. She fed the soil, gave it compost. Now it's giving it a drink, meaning she's watering it. The work has made them hungry, but Maria Luz knows that only a small amount of beans and a little tortilla dough remain. Once these are gone, they will have nothing, unless her father has found work. Her radish money may not go to her dreams, but to buy food. So she knows they have a very, very small amount of food left, and she's like thinking of, oh, I could buy my brother his vaccinations. I could buy a burro, which is just like a little land thingy. But she knows that really the money's going to go to food. Even though we have dreams and things we want to buy, sometimes you have to buy other things. Like Mrs. Kneifel would love to buy, I don't know, lots of stuff, but I have bills to pay. Just like her, she knows I want to buy these things, but really food is obviously most important. The air is growing warmer, and the school's little hillside is sprouting. The garden is now a part of their classroom. Don Pedro asks his students to count the radish shoots and to measure the distance between onions. He has them divide seed into equal piles. So, go Don Pedro. They're obviously making the garden for food and for good purposes, but they're also able to do some math with it. They can count the little sprouts, they can measure distances, you can take seeds and divide them into equal parts. So there's a whole bunch of different things they can do besides just the manual labor of planting, which is cool. Every day at home, Maria Luz checks her vegetables. The tomatoes and chilies are small and green, and the onions are still asleep underground. But her radishes poke their red tops out of the soil into the warm sun. You must grow fat, she tells them. You must. So she's talking to her plants. Lots of people talk to their plants, by the way, and she's like, hey, get it together, okay? How come these radishes are growing so much faster than the other ones? Abby? Yeah, I don't actually know why. Apparently, radishes grow fast. Remember, her teacher said these will grow in a short amount of time. So her onions are still asleep. Another form of personification. Are the onions asleep? No, they're just underground still. They haven't grown yet. And the other things are small and green still. But the radishes are like getting there. So she's like, get fat. Let's go. Why would she want them to be nice and big and fat? Jaden, want to raise your hand and tell me, Jaden? Go.
So she can sell it for lots and lots of money.
Right. Obviously, there's going to be, if you have bigger and beautifuler radishes, you're going to be able to get more money for them. Someone else is watching Maria Luz's radishes. One day, as she reads with Pepito, a long shadow falls across her vegetable rows. You are growing crops for cash, I see, says a growly voice of Senor Lobo, the local coyote. Perhaps you would like me to take them to the market for you. Do you think that's something she wants to do? No, because we already learned in the very beginning of the story that the coyote, not our friend. Maria Luz does not raise her eyes. Her hands tremble. She shakes her head but does not speak. She hears the coyote snort and watches his shadow retreat. She knows he will come back. Just then, Mama calls out, Come here, Maria Luz, Pepito. Come to the house. We have news. Maria Luz and Pepito scramble to the house. Mama has received word from Papa. He did find work and will be home soon. Well, obviously, that's exciting. All right. What does the illustration on the left, what do we notice about Senor Lobo? There's Maria, there's Pepito, and there is what we're going to assume is Senor Lobo. What do we know it is about Senor Lobo in the picture, Ethan? Yeah, is he a legitimate coyote in real life? No, he's a human, but the illustrator chose to draw him as a coyote because you can see that he looks like super vicious. He looks threatening, especially to like two kids. So this was just how the illustrator decided to show him to see how threatening he is and how much just, you know, we don't like the coyote, okay? But really but in real life he's a person. And there are some good words and phrases in the last couple paragraphs that really help us picture how Maria feels when she sees Senor Lobo. So what is one of the phrases that helps us know how Maria feels when she sees Senor Lobo? What is one of the phrases, Mia? She doesn't raise her eyes, okay? So that would be one thing. Like she's trying to avoid eye contact with him. She's not really looking at him. What else? Kaden? Her hands tremble. You can also like imagine a long shadow fall. So remember, like she's on the ground weeding, and there's a tall man that is like casting a shadow. So you can imagine she's like in a shadow. It's a little bit dark, and she hears the coyote snort. Obviously, it's not a legitimate coyote again. So, anyways, we don't love Mr. Coyote. Please turn the page. We are at our final page. Also, happy moment. Dad found work. What does dad finding work mean? What does that mean for them? If the dad found work, what does that mean, Bryden?
He can start making more money and to help get stuff that they need.
Right. If he found work, that means he's going to be able to have money, and money means they'll be able to buy food, or they'll be able to buy more seeds to plant so they have food, etc., etc. A few days later, Maria Luz is working in her garden when something catches her eye. Her heart skips a beat. A familiar sombrero is bobbing up the path to her house. Someone tell me what a sombrero is. What's a sombrero, Ethan?
It's a hat that a lot of people that live down in Mexico wear to protect themselves.
Yes, so a lot of people wear sombreros in all different parts of the world, not just in Mexico, but all different parts of the world, especially closer to the equator. A sombrero has a wide brim. It protects you a little bit more from the sun than just a regular baseball cap. Papa, Maria Luz breaks into a run. Mi cariño, shouts Papa, holding his arms out. At last, he has returned. Papa bounces Pepito on his knee, and over strong, hot coffee tells Mama and Maria Luz about the work in the highlands. Long, back-breaking days on the coffee plantation were worth it, he says. He has earned enough for seeds and fertilizer. Ooh, that's exciting. Maria Luz wrinkles in her chair. What is it, Maria Luz? Asks Papa. I think you can save your fertilizer money for something else. Come see our garden. She didn't have fertilizer. Instead of fertilizer, what did she do? Compost. Remember, she took the things around them and made compost, and that's like a form of fertilizer. So he doesn't have to buy fertilizer anymore. Woo! Papa looks in wonder at the little terraces, the compost heap, the sprouting vegetables, and the fat radishes. Where have you learned these things? He asked. Maria Luz takes Papa's hand and walks him down the path to the village school. Don Pedro is at work in the school garden. Mastrio calls Maria Luz. I want you to meet me, Padre. Muchos gusto, says Don Pedro, pumping Senor Durte's hand. Your daughter is my best helper. Papa talks a while with Don Pedro. On the way home, he tells Maria Luz how proud he is of all she has learned in school and in the garden. Should I go away more often, he jokes. But since I'm back, I'm going to be your helper. So the dad is saying, I'm going to be your help. Okay, stop clapping. It is not a clapping moment. The dad is saying, I'm going to be your helper. What does he mean by that? What does the dad mean when he says, I'm going to be your helper, Dylan?
You did better than
Well, I wouldn't say you did better than I did, but she learned new things. So she normally in life in general, the older person, the parents teach the child, right? Well, Maria has learned all these new things while her father is away. So now Maria has to teach her father. So he's saying he's going to be the helper for this round. All right, so tomorrow, we still have a few minutes, but tomorrow we are going to answer 2 radar questions and find a theme of this story together. So tomorrow when reading class starts, make sure you are on the story on HMH. That way we can get started with our 2 radar questions and theme. Thursday, we're going to take the quiz and work on, what's it called? Fluency. And Friday will be the test. So thank you guys for joining. I will see you all later. We still have a few minutes till your next rotation, so feel free to read a book. No parte. Bye, guys.